Just pray harder and all your problems will go away. Is prayer really the answer? Or maybe prayer is the problem? I'll give you my thoughts in a moment, but first I want to share a story and have you tell me what you think the problem is. Now, there's a story of a town being flooded. And there's an individual that they're at their house and they hear a knock on the door. There's some first responders. They pulled up in a large truck and they're wading through calf deep water and knocking on the door of the homeowner. They say, "Hey, we're here to rescue you. The flood's only going to get worse. It's going to get worse." And the person says, "No, thank you. I've said my prayers and God will take care of me." So they leave the person behind and take off. A while later in the day, the water's deeper. It's now about chest high. It's coming into the home. A neighbor knocks on the door and he's got his fishing boat and he's been going around and picking up neighbors and taking them in. He says, "Come on, felt like I had to knock on your door and you're here, and come get in the boat and I'll take you to safety." And the person says, "No. I've been praying and God will take care of me. Everything will be fine." Eventually, the flood gets so bad that the only thing above the water is the homeowner's roof. And they climb up on top of their roof. And while sitting up there and saying their prayers, a helicopter shows above them and drops down a line with the basket.
"Get into the basket. We'll take you to safety."
"No, I'm fine. Really, I said my prayers and God will take care of me." Eventually, the flood was so high that it covered the entire house and the person was swept away. So, what do you think the moral of the story is? The person was praying. Person had some kind of faith. But the problem is when we offer those kinds of prayers, we are looking for the solutions that we expect. And we do this in our day-to-day lives. We want our kids to listen better when maybe the problem is that they need to be heard. We want more love or passion in our marriage. Maybe we need to stop watching reels of other funny couples and spend time with our own spouse. We pray for our spouse to grow with us while we sit around not implementing the things we know we should do, and maybe we're using their inaction as an excuse to avoid our own. You see, prayer isn't the problem. Your faith isn't the problem. God isn't the problem. The problem is waiting around for solutions as you expect them. The problem is a lack of vision. Jordan Peterson has said, "Where you aim determines what you see." And the Bible tells us if our eyes are sincere, then our body will be filled with light. In other words, the light, the guidance, the support, the change you seek is available as you open your eyes to more than just what you think should be. Now, I want you to look for one more thing. I want you to look for the solution to the following story. The hardest part about what I do surrounding family and marriage is that I often feel like, oh, I need to be perfect. I'm supposed to have all the answers. And so when I'm around family and friends, there's this extra pressure for me to show perfection. Now, I know that they already know I'm imperfect and I know that they care about me for who I am, but my eyes are closed to that sometimes, even though it's obvious that having a perfect marriage and a perfect family is impossible. And that was witnessed recently when my wife and I butted heads at a family dinner. I'd been with the kids at the park while she was with the adults playing games. At the time that we normally wrap things up at family dinner and begin to head home, I went back to the house and I expected her to be ready, but she still wanted to play games with her family. What started as playful banter between my wife and I, trying to each get our way in what it was that we wanted, turned into frustrated embarrassment because it became painfully obvious that I am far from perfect as a husband and as a dad. Now, they already knew that, but once again, my eyes were closed to that concept. In fact, the only answer that I saw was to get away from the embarrassment as fast as possible, for me to make a demand that we leave and take off, my kids and wife, drop everything. It's time to go because daddy's embarrassed. Ridiculous, right? But at the time, in that moment, that was the only solution that my eyes were open to. Now, apart from the typical troll responses, like, "You're a terrible husband, your wife should leave you, why don't you go sit in the corner for the rest of your life, you don't know what you're doing," and all that other ridiculousness, what other solutions existed if I had the vision to see? I could have walked around the block. I could have put on a show and watched it with the kids. I could have joined the game that they were playing. Maybe they only do one more round. Maybe I go ahead and take the kids home and start getting them ready for bed, and my wife gets a ride home. There's all kinds of options that were available if I had been willing and able to see. This is why prayer is not the problem. God is not the problem. Your faith is not the problem. It is our vision, what we are or are not willing to open our eyes to, that prevents us from finding better solutions faster. Let's change that for just one thing right now. What is a challenge or frustration that you are facing? Write it down or open an app on your phone and put it in there. I want you to think about what's the primary solution that you've been looking for or expecting as it relates to that problem, and write that down. Once you've done that, make a list of 5 or more answers or solutions that you haven't had your eyes open to previously. Maybe they're things that you've seen or thought of, but haven't been willing to consider. Write those things down. Begin your list. Open your eyes to the possibilities. Now, you can be ridiculous. Well, Joe, you should have grown wings and just flown home. But try to be reasonable. Try to do things that could actually be done. Maybe you don't know how. Maybe it would require a miracle to achieve, but something reasonable that you can put in there. Once you have your list, look over that list and pray about it. See if there is something in there that resonates more strongly than the others. And perhaps this is God attempting to open your eyes to that possibility. Now, if you don't do prayer, then take the time to meditate on it. Meditate, think over that list, see what stands out to you. You may be saying, well, Joe, this is great, but I can't come up with the list. I don't see any other solutions. That's okay. You're not the only one. In fact, sometimes I require prayer in order for God to open up my eyes to what's possible. So if you can't think of anything to add on that list, or if you only come up with one or two other things, then go ahead and pray and ask for your eyes to be open that you can see more possible solutions to add to your list. Also ask that your heart will be open to whatever it is that God would have you do. As you go through this process, you will find your answers. You'll be able to see those solutions. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. The stronger your vision will become. And you will be able to see more clearly the hand of God in your life. You will know that you are heard. And you'll soon realize that you can find the solution to communicating better with your kids. You can see the answers to improving love in your marriage. And you can see what is needed so that you and your spouse can grow together. And do this as soon as possible, because you can check out this video and see what happened when I ignored finding the right solutions for too long and the big blow up that it caused in my marriage. Till next time, keep moving forward.